with you for another week of online mule and donkey Q&A live clinic. And this week we've got some show and tell. But before we do that, again, I'm Dave. This is Steve, and we're going to talk mules and donkeys. Steve, you've got a trip that you're getting. Oh my goodness, what happened there?
14 stitches.
Did you do them yourself?
You know, when a mule gets a hold of you with his teeth, that hurts.
Good night.
But it wasn't a mule. What it was, it's happened before. What it was is I had my jack with an airline on it.
Yeah.
And I was going to lift this car up, and all of a sudden there's a lid on top. It blew up, and it caught my finger between the lid and the air gauge, and it put 14 stitches in that puppy Sunday afternoon. Yeah.
So how you feeling?
I feel with my hands.
That's funny. Everything gonna be okay though? The finger?
Oh yeah. I'm getting ready for Hoosier Horse Fair.
That's
Man,
awesome.
it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it.
That's really cool. You know, I was looking at the website. They got a real nice bio written up here. I'm going to put it in the comments section so folks can check it out. But it says here that you're going to be doing 3 clinics. Actually, all 3 days. Why does my mule do that clinic? Trail riding with confidence clinic. Now, I've been to both of those. Those are great. The halter, key to mule and donkey foundation training. And then on Sunday, you're going to do an encore of why does my mule do that and an encore of the halter. Those are going to be great. Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to? You have any folks that you know are going to meet up there, or any animals that you're familiar with that you're going to be working with?
You know, I don't like to be familiar with the animals. I just take them as they come along, you know. Mark Williams is going to be there, though. And he's going to be bringing his mule. And I said, Mark, that's wrong. I got too many Marks over there in West Virginia.
Oh, my goodness. Don't we ever? We've got so many Marks that tune in.
Yeah. Oh, I just drew a big blank right there. Anyway, if he chimes in, it's okay. He's going to be bringing his mule all the way from West Virginia to the Hoosier Club. Hoosier
That's
deal.
going to be great.
Yeah, he's probably on the road right now, matter of fact, you know.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, hey, folks, if this is the first time ever hanging out with us, there's really only 3 things we ask. And folks who have hung out with us, in weeks past, they could tell you as well. But I'll just mention it here up front. The first and foremost is that you mention your name. Just let us know that you're here. This is a community. This is not, the Steve and Dave show and it's just us and nothing else. No, we're just kind of, here talking and responding to what you guys have going on in the comment section, and that's what we're here to answer, to respond, to reply, do everything that we can to make sure you get what you need. The second thing, after you let us know that you're here, say hello, where you're watching from. The second thing is that you ask any question that comes to mind. We really thrive on getting every single question answered, and in the last couple of weeks, we've had quite a few come in, and that has just been a huge blessing. I've got a list here of questions that have come in throughout the week. Few questions that we've had through email, through Facebook, through YouTube, but we want your questions. And folks who ask them here on Facebook get priority. So if you're here live and you ask a question, we're going to try to get to that as soon as possible. And the third request that we have, and everybody knows this, is that we ask that you share the broadcast, especially if you're on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can tag any fellow mule, equine friends, family, tag them, their names so that they can hop in, or share it to your wall and just share real quick a word about what you appreciate, what you like most about it. And really the goal there is to make sure we get new folks in who have been looking for answers. You know that moment that you've had in the past where you've been encountering something. As a matter of fact, Steve has a clinic called Why Does My Mule Do That? And you go into why does my mule ... and you fill in the blanks. Well, you have found a great resource here in everything we're doing on muleranch.com and these live broadcasts. But there are people out there who have no idea that we're doing this, who have no idea that there's someone out there like Steve who has, 40 years of cowboying on his life, but 40 years of working with these animals and is just giving away the knowledge. They don't know that we're out here doing this. So when you share it to the wall, you're basically helping somebody else find maximum enjoyment in their animals. So real quick, before we get going, I want to say hi to Yolanda. So already we've gone international. We've got Eileen. Hello, Steve and Dave from Nebraska. Cloudy, drizzle, and 47 degrees. That sounds real nice. It's windy and sunny out here, But I like cloudy and drizzly. It was that way a couple days ago. Neil Campbell, hey there, glad to watch. Neil, we're glad that you're watching. Let us know if we can help at all. Yolanda says, David, stop laughing. You know what? I'm always laughing, and I've always got a smile on my face. My mama likes my smile, so so I've always got a smile. Let's see here. Diane from Wooster, Ohio. Welcome, Diane. We're glad that you're here. Kevin Albright here again. Ricky and I will be at the Hoosier with the kids. You're going to have to be looking out for Kevin there, Steve. Now, you have something that you're going to give him when he shows up, right? Don't you have something?
Yeah, I got a couple of surprises. I got my cards, which are my pocket knife, and I also have some special Queen Valley Mule Ranch bags that are really cool. I'm going to put my pocket knife in some of them bags and throw them in the crowds. I don't know. We're going to do crazy things. Dave, I've never been quite right,
That's going to be a lot of fun. Mark Miller, there you go.
Yeah, Mark Miller. He's coming all the way from West Virginia, clear to the Hoosier. He's probably on the road right now.
Awesome.
And Susan and I are flying out tomorrow about 1 o'clock. We'll get in there tomorrow evening. And then Friday morning, we fire things up, and away we go.
That'll be a lot of fun. We've got John McLeod from Gunson, Colorado watching. We've got D. Hey, good A. D, we'll be seeing you pretty soon here. Let's see. We've got David Ritchie from Pueblo, Colorado. We've got Nicole Wilder from Oregon. We've got a lot of really good folks here. I say we get started here with the first question. What do you say, Steve?
Hey, let's rip it. Let's get her done.
This one's from Blake. He put this in on Facebook, and Blake has the question, Hi, Steve and Dave from Oregon. I just purchased the donkey and mule halter, and I'm looking forward to using it on my mule Locani. I also have a beautiful large standard spotted jack that doesn't like his feet messed with. Our farrier thinks that we should just tie him snug to a post and mess with his feet this way, but I don't know how I feel about that method. What do you suggest? So you got an animal here that does not want the foot messed with. What is the way to go about doing the work you need to get done?
Come along, Hitch. Come along, Hitch. Come along, Hitch. Listen, folks, the old way, which got me 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips, is latch them up tight and make them do it. There's easier ways. And if any of you have seen my video, I had a mule that didn't want me to pick up his back feet, fought me and fought me and fought me. He was right there at a Why Does My Mule Do That clinic. Dave shot the video, and you can see this mule transform and change. And I'm sure Dave can throw a link up to it. But folks, look, when animals are not doing things correctly on the ground or even in the saddle, where is your foundational training on the ground? Folks, I cannot tell you enough how important it is to get things done on the ground before you get in the saddle. Everybody wants to ride. I understand. Everybody wants to eat the cake too, but my wife has to take time to make the cake. Right, Dave?
That's absolutely right. And that video, I put a link to that video in the comment section. It is almost 10 minutes long. It's completely unedited. And, a lot of times folks will see Steve do something and be like, well, that's Steve. He doesn't ever have any problems with people. And when this was happening, I said, this is going to be great. Folks are going to see that Steve has just as many problems with these mules as everybody else, but it's about having that patience, like you were saying. And it took almost 10 minutes to get what you were looking for.
Yeah, 10 minutes. And all my bones are still in place. The mule was comfortable. Look, folks, you want the animal to be just as happy when you end as when you begin. You don't want him all upset and this sort of thing and blowing up. You want him happy. And you cannot, folks, bully these guys into doing something for you. I've got a client in Texas, Dale Williamson, and this is unique. I got to tell you this, Dave. This guy is a retired American Airlines pilot, a captain, and he's had this love affair for mules for years, and he still teaches people how to fly an airplane and to do a helicopter, but he relaxes by going down to the stable and messing with his mule. Well, the other day, he did what I told him not to do. Don't get on that mule. Guess what? He got piled, okay? folks, get the groundwork done first. And Dave, that's the one I was talking about, that they don't have a DVD player, but he's got Macintosh, and so we need to figure a way to get him going. But anyway, folks, groundwork. That's what's important. And if you can't pick up a foot, why are you getting in the saddle?
Yep, that's absolutely right. If you got problems on the ground, you're going to have problems in the saddle.
Guaranteed.
Very good. So I put a link to that video. Folks, you can watch that. I highly recommend watching the whole thing. You'll see the patience. And then also I'm going to put a link to our starter kit, our ground foundation starter kit, which includes a come-along rope, amazing tool, the rope halter, another amazing tool, and the Problem Mule DVD, which is it's just fantastic to go through and methodically watch how you do this ground foundation training. Next question we got here, this comes from Thus. And Thus, I just want to say, it's been great to have you. We've had Thus on here 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and it's been nice to make new friends. So he's got this question for you, Steve. He says, is it possible that a young Molly mule can get very hormonal and it make her act very erratic and extra volatile? She goes real good for about 2 weeks or so. But then there's a huge change in behavior. Saddle, teeth, foundation training, those are all in place. Is there a way to stabilize the hormone cycle? Thanks, Thus from South Africa. I will listen to the podcast.
There you go. Absolutely. You know, that hormonal thing, Dave, is I'm afraid, especially when you've got one like that. Rarely do you have problems with a Molly mule. Rarely. And rarely do you have problems with a Jenny donkey. I can tell you I've had a lot of Molly mules myself that we've owned here at the ranch, and I've trained a bunch of them. I don't even say hundreds anymore. Dr. Robert Miller told me I should start saying thousands, but that's another story. But anyway, going back, but once in a while you'll have one hormonal. And I have heard all kinds of ways to get it fixed. And all I can tell you is just try things until you get it. You know, if you got the teeth done, good for you. But what is your feeding program? What type of feed? Remember, I tell you, stay away from the carbohydrates. Your alfalfa especially is going to create lots of kidney problems. And you can go online and do a lot of looking at that. But any type of carbohydrates, these mules don't need it unless they have a job. Now, you're getting ready to go to work. You're getting ready to climb in the saddle, and you're going to be riding 6-8 hours. Sure, put the nose bag on them, give them some grain so that they'll have energy to do the job, you know. But don't just give it to them every week and expect Sweet Pea to be sweet all the time, because you're going to see the Dr. Jekyll and Hyde come out when you start feeding too many carbohydrates.
Don't you call it rocket fuel?
Rocket fuel. Oh, man. It can be tough. I mean, if you're going to ride them, a good time to have the rocket fuel. But you're going to take them out of the corral after standing all week, be prepared to be launched.
That's funny. That's really, really funny. I put a link to your Feed Talk video, which is a great video. It's free. Y'all can go. You can get it online. It's absolutely free. Just put in your email address and we'll send you a link. And that goes through what Steve's feed program has been. And I'm also going to put a link to Steve's article, Mules Can't Stand Prosperity. And it just talks about exactly what Steve just said. And it goes into more detail. So that's great feedback on that young Molly there. The next question, this one comes from Lori. And actually, before I get to that, I just want to make sure, I just want to say hello to the other people who have joined in here. We've got Eric Palmer. Hey, Eric, it's good to hear from you, man. Glad you're here. Yeah. We've got Linda. Linda says, hi, Steve and David. Greetings from Ojai, California. It's a beautiful, partly sunny day here. I sure do appreciate all your videos and information. My new mule and I are so happy with how well it's going. Isn't that awesome to hear?
Awesome. Good. Yeah.
That's just awesome. Let's see. We've got Meredith Andrew. Hey, from Meredith in Sanoa, Georgia. Loving my saddle pad and cinches I brought from you, Meredith. We're really glad to hear. And if you run into any questions, you know you can give Steve a call. 602-999-6853. Give him a call. Make sure you leave a message. We've got Jackie and Greg from Iowa. We've got Wesley from Spring City, Utah. Linda, FYI, I'm viewing via Linda's Facebook. This is Myra. Hey, Myra, glad you're here. Let's see, who else do we have? Kim Todd. Kevin Howman, Edie Wick, Walter Green. We got all the gang here. Let's get to our next question. Guys, if you're just tuning in and you haven't put your question in, make sure you do. We'll do everything we can to make sure to capture all of them and get to them. This one does come from Lori on Facebook. She says, "Hi, Steve and Dave. I'm looking for help in natural treatment for COPD in my mule. The dexamethasone makes him hard to catch and a bad attitude. I did start soaking his hay from Wisconsin." So the mule can get COPD.
Yeah, it's you get different thoughts and ideas. COPD, asthma, allergies. Yeah, nobody really knows. I mean, they've done all kinds of tests, but once you go through a barrage of tests, even then they want more tests. But anyway, yeah, wetting the hay is one thing, but the thing is, is it just when they're eating the hay, or is it out eating the grass? You need to kind of understand if it's going to be allergies or not, and you do need to do the testing. But that's about all you can do is wet the hay and start with that.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go to the next question here. This one comes from a David on Facebook. I like that name. I think I could get used to it. Hello. Can you briefly comment on why a mule would not like to be groomed?
Yeah. Very, very sensitive mule. That's the best way I can say it. Some of my really good mules, I mean, when I say good mules, something I can get something done with. I'm out working cattle, and they're not just plodding along, they're antsy, ready to go. They are super sensitive. Now, I can also tell you that some of them, it could be in the feed as well. I've seen some where people were feeding them alfalfa feed or putting them out on really green spring grass, and they'd be sensitive too. But otherwise, I'm going to tell you, it's just as plumb its makeup. It's the way it is. I've even had some of them kick at me a little bit and say, don't be touching my belly with that comb. That's when the come along hitch says, yes, we will touch the belly with the comb, But there's not much you can do with it. There's no training. It's the way the good Lord made him.
That's awesome. That's awesome feedback. You really can't pull it out of them. You just got to learn how to work with it. I got a next question, and this one actually is coming from me. So one of the things that so I'm talking to all the viewers right now. So I know nothing about mules and donkeys. Everything that I know is from these broadcasts, is from spending, over a decade spending time with Steve. And so I've learned a lot, but there's still a lot of things that just I don't know. And so one thing that came up this week as we were trying to provide as much information on the website as possible was the idea of the bridle. And so in our conversation, Steve, what I've come to learn, so this is just my understanding. I don't know if this is complete, incomplete, right, incorrect, whatever. But in my understanding, it seems like the bridle is almost exclusively just to hold the bit. So I'm not sure if that's correct. Can you explain to me, and for anyone who's watching who may not know all of the purpose of the bridle, can you just explain to us if that's all it is or if there's more to it? What's the purpose of the bridle?
The purpose of the main purpose is to balance the mule's bit in the mouth. There's the bit. This is my trail rider bit. Now, the bridle has to take and fit the bit and balance it correctly. Now, it also can be used for leading because it does have a throat latch. So when you're riding with split reins, you can lead with one and put the other one up on the horn. So you can actually do both if you have a well-foundationed mule or donkey, But here, folks, you don't just put any bridle on there. The bridle, it's important that it hangs the bit correctly. Now, you can take and tip that bit forward, and it's going to be away from the pallet. You can tip that bit back, and it's going to be against the pallet. As you do that, right here are where the bars of the mouth fit as well. And then underneath, from right here, underneath and back to the other side, is a chin strap. Now, it's imperative that you have the bridle that's going to balance the bit. So you can see if it's too far back, it's going to be hitting the pallet. Too far forward, it's going to be away from the pallet. So you've got that to consider. So I've got a couple different bridles here. All of my bridles, I've studied the mules. I've tried to figure out how the bit lays in their mouth Correct. Now, of course, you get a young mule, and he's going to have a little bit tighter face, and you get an older mule, he's going to have a longer face. So that is going to change some. So since I do that, I can't afford to have hundreds of bridles around for the different aspects. So I've kind of designed these bridles to basically work very well with a finish type bit, which is what this is. Now, this is one bridle here, okay? This bridle's all leather. It has, this right here is the brow band right here. It goes around the front of the head. This right here is the crown back here in the back. That's the goes behind the ears. So the ears come up through here. All right. Okay. Now, lost his name here a second here. Anyway, Mr. Williamson in Texas actually had this around backwards like this, and so the bit was setting way back up in the mouth, and he couldn't figure out why the mule was shaking his head, you know.
That would have been the thing that happened to me. That's what I would have done.
That's right. So you see, I've got this right here is the cheek piece. And the way this bridle sits, I know it's hard to see, but the way this bridle sits is going to help balance the bit in the mule's mouth. This right here goes underneath the jaw and buckles on the other side, right here, okay? And these are the cheek pieces. So this one here, I happen I don't use Chicago screws because they come undone. I usually use rivets myself, and I leave the bit in with my bridle for different things. But a lot of folks use Chicago screws. If you're going to do that, use some Loctite or some fingernail polish, something like that. But you see what this cheek piece here looks like right here. All right? This is my leather bridle. Now this is designed after a bridle made by an old cowboy buddy of mine. You can see how it had the old-timey type cheek piece. Mm-hmm. And you get your big-headed mules, and this bridle looks really good on them, you know. And I've got the original adjustment here with the buckles so that you can adjust the bit on the bottom here. And again, the 19-inch brow band right here, and you can see it's kind of custom-y looking, old cowboy type thinking, and it's also got right there.
Yeah. That's how you know it's legit.
That's right, Queen Valley Mule Ranch, and it's got my wife's mule's head right there. This was Stacy's head. That mule passed away, but she's an awesome mule. But you got that leather bridle. Now, these are leather, all right? You can see how they're made, and of course you can see better pictures on my website around. But again, it's not, you know, the looks of it is what people want to see. They want a good-looking bridle. But here's what's important. If you got a bridle designed for a horse's head, wait a minute, folks, is there a difference between a horse head and a mule head? Oh, yeah. So you can't expect that bridle, that bit, to be hanging in the mule and donkey's mouth correctly. And that's really important to understand. Yes, it's a good-looking bridle, you know. And yes, I've designed it. I used an old cowboy design on it. But it holds the bit balanced in the mouth. That's what's important. Okay?
Very good.
Now those are leather. All right?
Yeah, and you don't actually use leather. You've got it because folks like it, but you've got something else and something that you like using. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, I've got leather. I've got a lot of bridles. A lot of times around the ranch there, we're riding 6-8 mules a day, different ones. So we would take and put the bridle on with the finish bit, or put the bridle on with the snaffle bit, and yada yada. But this right here is called Beta. And what I like about Beta is I want to spend time with my mule. I don't want to be cleaning tack all the time. And I know some folks may like tack. There again, there's my concho right there. That's what it looks like. But this is Beta. It is indestructible, folks. Has a 19-inch brow band on it. Comes with reins and all. And what I like about it, I don't have to oil it. Don't have to worry about cracking. All I got to do is take a little soapy water or take a little Windex. That's my favorite thing. Windex spray it and wipe it off. It's got adjustment on the right side. It's got adjustment on the left side so that the bit hangs correctly in the mouth. Okay? Now, the last part. Now, those bridles only are good for a finished bit. A finished bit means a bit with a shank right here that you ride one-handed with. Now, the correctional mouthpiece that I have here that I've designed is a correctional mouthpiece that looks like a lot of other bits. But it's how I designed the port right here and how it sets in the mule's mouth that makes a difference. So those 3 bridles, my 2 leather ones and my 1 beta with the reins, will work on bits with this type of a shank, a long shank. Again, this is meant to be ridden one-handed, but with my bits you can ride with 2 hands if you got to correct and fix a problem. Now, after a mule is 3 years old, it should be out of the snaffle bit, and this is the snaffle bit. Notice the rings here and here. It can be a D-ring, it can be an O-ring like this is. This is my double twisted wire snaffle bit. It is a beautiful bit, and it is easier on the mule's mouth than a smooth snaffle bit. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but Dave, this weekend, people are going to be seeing it. You know, I'm going to be showing them. You know, I'll pick some cute little girl or some cute little boy, and I'll have them put their hand on the bit, and I'll show people how I can make the kids respond really good, and parents will be buying the bridle left and right, right? So, and then I'll take a big burly guy, and I'll show folks that when that mule gives you problems, this bit here is the way to go. But again, this is my mule rider's Martingale. It looks like there's a whole bunch of things, but it's really easy to use. I've got, just like anything else, Dave, it's important that people have the tool, but how to use it. So what separates me from everybody else, and everybody should understand this, and what we've been trying to say, is I'm here to help. That's why I get you a bridle that goes with the mule rider's Martingale. Shows you how to use it. So after 3 years old, you're no longer going to be using this except and only when you need to fix a problem. And will problems come up? Yeah. One day you may not have a stop. One day you may not have a turn. Then you get your toolbox out. This right here, mule rider's Martingale. You fix the problem. So what we need to do, Dave, we got a really good article on bits.
Yeah.
So we need a video showing here's the bit, how it sets in the mouth, and the basics on it. I think it'd be a good deal to do one of these times, you know.
I think that'll be good. You know, we produced this really long, comprehensive, just probably the best on the internet article on mule bits, and it's already #1 on Google. Like if folks search for mule bit, they'll find that. But I put it in the comments section. It's really helpful. It goes through the different types, recommendations from Steve. A couple follow-ups. So if this is your first time hanging out with us, sometimes we talk about Steve's tack and what's available on the store. Sometimes we don't. Today I asked that question specifically because I want to know. I want to know the purpose of the bridle. But we do have a couple follow-ups here. Mark Williams says I'm here and I have 2 of those bridles and I've had them for about a year now and I really like them. So a good testimonial there, someone who's actually using them. And then Edie had a follow-up question. She says, question on that bridle. Why doesn't it have the snap over the buckle like you described in an earlier session? Do you know what she's talking about there?
Snap over the buckle. You mean if we're going behind the ears?
I'm not sure. Edie, if you wanna go ahead and elaborate there, we'll be happy to answer that question and just want to make sure that we're asking the right one. So anyways, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. We're actually going to take that video, get it up on the website, so when folks are looking to buy, what it is they want to buy, they'll know to get the right thing. I want to say real quick, we've got Chris Lowe here. Chris Lowe says, I'll see you on Saturday. So we got another expo attendee. We've got Jeremy from Houston watching. We've got, let's see here. We've got Twig watching, just tuned in. Hi from Twig. We've got Alicia Stanley. She's got a question. We'll get to her question here in a second. We've got Diane says, I have a 17-inch saddle of Steve's. I love it, but the stirrups are way too short for my husband. What can I do?
Way too short for a husband. Well, is it the stirrups that are too short, or the fenders that are too short? Now,
Let's say if it, yeah, okay, go ahead.
let's just say the stirrups are too short. You can buy longer stirrups for that. You know, like I think I got like 6.5 inches that I've got. Now, fenders wise, if we get the inseam on your husband, then we can have a set of fenders made to go with him. But 99, I've only had 2 times that I've had to get longer fenders for folks. One is Joe Hanks up in Gillette, Wyoming, and he's all legs, and we had to have special fenders made for him. But long story short, we can have them made. But other thing is, send me a picture of the fenders on the saddle. A lot of times folks don't have it adjusted correctly so that we can get the full use of that fender and that adjustment bracket.
There we go. So Edie just tuned back in and she said yes. So you were saying, I think it was the behind the clip, the buckle, instead of shoot, what did she say? I had it right here. Question on that bridle: why doesn't it have the snap over buckle like you described in an earlier section? There you go.
Okay, so I look, folks, it's important that your mule has a good foundation. Don't cheat them, all right? And what I mean by that is to put the snap in behind the ears and to snap it, to get away from not harming the ears. And I realize that a lot of folks don't want to take the time to deal with it. But folks, deal with it. Fix it. Don't just put it to one side. You would fix a problem on your car. Well, this problem with the ear, it can be later on. You won't even be able to get a bridle on that animal. I've seen it time and time again. I've had people say, I've had this mule 5 years, being able to put the bridle on. I had the bridle made with a snap on it, and now one day I can't put it on. Folks, it's coming, okay? So do I have some of those bridles? I'm actually having some of them made. I broke down and done it. I didn't want to. But, folks, fix the problem. You're not hurting that mule's ears. If you've seen some of my videos, I've got those ears going everywhere, You're not hurting them. The majority of animals that have an ear-shy problem is because people have bumped their mouth. It's their mouth first. If you would adjust the bit down to where they can pack that bit, you'll take away the ear problem.
There we go. Hey, Steve, real quick, just move to the center of the screen for me real quick while I scroll through here.
Right.
There we go. Let's see. We've got Yvonne chimed in. Hi, Yvonne. Glad you're here. She says, I love my saddle I purchased from you, and I love how helpful you are. Hi from Oregon. So we're glad to hear that. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you for providing that little kind words. That always feels good. Let's see. Yolanda's tuning in, and she's saying, wow, my mule is forcing me to groom her. So we got some folks who are saying, why would a mule not want to be groomed? Yolanda's saying her mule is forcing her to groom her. Let's see. Linda says, I've watched a few YouTube videos with Meredith Hodges as the trainer. She carries around a fanny pack full of crimped oats for her training and feeds them whenever they do something right. What are your feelings regarding training for treats?
Meredith, just like a lot of other trainers, they've got their way of doing it. This is my thinking. This is not a puppy dog. This is a mule. And you want to get yourself hurt really bad, keep doing that. I have I've seen people doing that, and I've also seen them mugged and mauled. Let me just give you for instance. At the Phoenix Zoo, we've got a great big 4x8 sign in yellow and red. It says, do not hand feed the mules. Well, that program ended up stopping because it used to be you could pet the mules and come to get petted. Well, then one of the kids ended up getting bit. And then another kid got bit. And they did it because people were getting up grass and giving it to them and getting bit. I had a lady that several years ago when I was teaching the program at Pierce College in LA, I would take my students to shows and I would say, all right, now let's watch people communicate with their equine. And I seen this lady, she could have been 90 pounds, Dave, little tiny gal, and she had this great big 17-hand Clydesdale. I mean, a monster. And she had this chain across his nose, and she was jerking it, trying to stop it. And my student said, "Wow, Steve, look at that." And my other student, I call her Rocky. Rocky said, "I'll go get the come along." She knew exactly what I needed to do. So I go over to help the lady, and I said, "Ma'am, can I help you?" Now, there was kids being pushed around in strollers. There was toddlers being handled. I mean, it could have been bad because, Dave, the feet on this sucker were like this. I put the come-along rope on this thing and got him to stand still. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. This lady showed me her finger, but it didn't look like this. It looked like this. It was a nub. And I said, "What happened?" She says, "Well, I used to give my horse carrots. And one day I reached up to pet him. He saw my finger, thought it was a carrot, and now it's missing from the knuckle up, gone." I can't tell you how many people. I had another lady. This is a tough one. Mm-hmm. She used to put a carrot in her pocket. Yeah. And she used to say, "Okay, come and get it." One day the carrot wasn't there and her breast was. I won't tell you the rest of the story. So, folks, hand feeding is going to get you bit. Sooner or later, it's coming, okay? I do not give treats to animals when they do something right. And now let me preference this. I will give a treat to an animal that is really offish, that doesn't want nothing to do with me, doesn't want to be petted, doesn't want to be in my space, and this sort of thing. When I do give the treat, I put it on the flat of my hand, and I put it toward their chest where they have to back away to get the treat. Now, notice the people that are giving all of the grain and this sort of thing. Where's the animal? All in their body, all up against them, stepped on them and this sort of thing. I can't tell you how many horror stories that I have had of people coming to my clinics that have tried the treat method and ended up in ER or ended up being stepped on and on and on and on. So, folks, my method is what is natural to the animal. Ask, tell, demand. Comfortable, uncomfortable. Using ground communication, using what's natural to the animal. Folks, these mules don't need to be eaten all the time. These donkeys don't need to be eaten all the time, and they sure do not need treats.
There you go. I love what you said at the beginning. Everyone has their own method. Everyone has their own way of doing things, and I like hearing your reasoning for why you do those things. The next question I got here, this one comes from Elisha, and she says, let's see. Elisha says, "What is the average port size for a mule, or does it vary?"
Port size? Is she talking about port on the bit?
That's what I was thinking. That's the only thing that I know is a port.
Well, we can have this can be a variety of sizes depending on what you're going to have. You can do what a bit called a spade bit. And this can be very long lengths, and it can also come clear up into the roof of the mouth. All right? So this one right here is 1 3/8 is what I like to use. It's what I've designed. But it's not so much the port height as it being tipped forward like this so that it doesn't hit the palate right off the bat and gives the immediate relief as soon as you pick up on the bridle. So as you pick up on the bridle, as soon as you pick it up, this port's going to move pretty quick, and I get the nose on a vertical, and I get the stop that I want. So I really spent a lot of time trying to figure this out. It's no different than any other correctional mouthpiece, except when it comes to right here, how this port is designed. It's designed for the mule and donkey, not the horse. Still has right here, this dark color right here, that right there is sweet iron, and it gives them a nice taste. Do not use copper. Copper creates static electricity.
There you go. So we've got a few folks over on YouTube. For folks who didn't know, we broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube. We've got Natalie, we've got Dale, we've got Cal Boykin, we've got Nola, and Natalie has the question, says, "Is it possible to fix crooked front legs on a 3-year-old and what problems could these crooked legs cause in the future?
Natalie, when it comes down to these babies, what people have to do from very young, I'm talking like as soon as you start to seeing some feet growth, hoof growth, is you need to trim their feet so that they're balanced. If you don't have a balanced foot, you're going to have crooked legs. Most of our mules, the feet are sticking out like this, like pigeon toes, like pigeons walking. Why is that? Because we did not trim the feet to make the legs straight. Can we do anything now if they're a 3-year-old? We can help them a little bit. It's going to take some corrective trimming and some corrective shoeing. You got to have shoes to correct it, and you can correct the problem. You got 4 more years of bone growth, so you still got a possibility of getting some straightness in it. And I've been very fortunate being able to do them. I did it on my wife's mule. I got it as a 2-year-old, and I did corrective shoeing and corrective trimming all her life, and she was a very straight mule. She won several model mule contests.
Awesome. All right, I'm going through here, just making sure we've got everyone. Nola over on YouTube, she says, "Love your videos." We love hearing that. Thank you, Nola.
Good.
I appreciate that.
That wasn't my granddaughter, Natalie, was it?
Natalie Gann.
Yeah, that's my granddaughter. She always sneaks up on me like that. She used to say Nat. She used to say Nat. I got a picture of her that shows her riding her mule, looking at our program and watching as she's riding her mule.
That's funny.
Yeah, so she's got her camera right here like this, and she's riding her mule, and there it is, right there.
That's fun. That's fun. Talk about being able to apply what you're learning right away. So for everyone who's just hopping in or has only been watching for the last 10 minutes or so, my name's Dave. This is Steve. We hop on the Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday just to share anything and everything we can to make sure that you've got an awesome relationship with your animal, and they get as much joy out of being with you as you get out of being with them. There's only 3 things we ask. Number 1, if you're watching, just make sure you tell us you're watching and where you're watching from. We want to know that you're here. We want to know that we're not alone. Number 2 is that if you have a question, you not hold back. Go ahead, share that question. Let us know what it is you're working through. Would love to hear about your journey, your experience with your animal. And then the third one is that you share the broadcast, especially if you're over on Facebook. We really believe that there are folks out there who are really struggling, feeling like they're alone, feeling like they're at the point where they want to give up on their animal. Maybe you've been at that point too, where you just feel like I'm doing everything that I know how to do and it's just not working. I cannot figure this animal out. And then all of a sudden you discover there's someone like Steve who's kind of been there, done that, sharing what's been working over the last 40 years for him. And all of a sudden, you see a little bit of progress. Well, we want those folks who feel like they're alone, we want them to be able to come in and experience some of that progress as well. So go ahead, share it to your wall, or you can tag a friend or a family member. Make sure they get in and they have an opportunity to ask their question and quite honestly, join this awesome group that we've got going. The next question that I got here, this is about saddle moving. And this is from Neil. He sent an email in. He says, "Steve, hello. I am new to the mule world." Neil, we're glad to have you. He says, "I have a big mule that I can't get on without 3-foot blocks. Is there anything you know of that helps you get up without pulling the saddle off? I'm older and I can't bend my knees high enough to get my foot in the stirrup."
Okay, partner, I'm 5'6", so I'm not that tall, but I'm tall enough. So here's what I used to always do. I used to always put them down in a lower spot. I put them down in a Roya, or I climb on the fender of my trailer, but I put them down lower where I can put my foot on there, okay? Now, it's extremely important that when you get on holding on to the mane so that you're pulling pretty good with your left hand. And your other hand goes on the horn. So hand on the mane, hand on the horn, climb up. If you get on like a lot of folks, you get on with your left hand on the horn, right hand on the cantle, you're going to pull it off. Given, okay? Especially if your mule doesn't have much of a spine. Wither does no good when it comes down to rolling saddles. Now, here's the next thing. it comes down to your saddle. Number one, are you riding a breeching? That's imperative. Number two, do you have billets? Do you have long straps hanging from your saddle, and you're using a leather cinch in the back? Okay, if you are, a billet will not help keep the saddle into place. If you notice, all of my saddles have 4 nylon latigos all the way around, so that you can evenly position the cinch, and your rear cinch must be the tightest. So you need a breeching, you need a rear cinch. Okay, now the next thing is, if you go on my YouTube, you will see I've got videos of a customer. I say, all right, you like your wool pad? Let's see how that works for you. So we put his wool pad down on a conduit saddle stand, and then we put a saddle on there. And I said, all right, now push it off. And he got a hold of the saddle pad, pushed it right off. I said, all right, now let's use my saddle pad. Put my saddle pad on that same conduit tree, put the saddle on there, he couldn't push it off. You'll see it in the video, he can't pull it off either. Notice there's no cinches, notice there's no breeching, all right? So, that being said, it's imperative once it's on that animal, especially because these animals are narrow at the shoulder and they're wide at the hip, so they're hourglass shaped. So it's imperative that back cinch be the tightest. It's imperative you have a breeching, and it's imperative that you get a hold of the mane and on the horn to get on.
What if your mule doesn't have a mane?
Shame on you. Well, if you don't, you're going to have to put a leather strap around there. Folks, I keep manes on all of my mules. Those manes will grow out nice. My wife, for 28 years, her mane on her mule was just about 4 inches long. But otherwise, you're going to have to put a strap right there. And I know it's hard to get up because you have to get on like this. But when you get on like this at an angle, it's safer than getting up here like this, trying to get on this way here. If you get on watching the mule's head, there's the biggest problem. 70% of our equine accidents, national statistics, say that 70% of our accidents is getting on and getting off of our equine. And mainly because we are getting on them incorrect. And make a note there, Dave. This next week when we're down at the ranch and with the Australian folks, let's shoot a picture of me getting on and off so folks can see that done.
Yeah, that'll be good. I put a link to the saddle pads in the comment section, and I got another video of a gentleman getting on and off the animal without the saddle rolling, and I don't think he even had cinches on. I think it was just the pad.
Oh,
and
Eric
saddle.
done that.
Yeah, was it Eric? Okay.
Yeah, Eric Palmer done that. Yeah, that crazy guy. Yeah, he just he said a bunch of people one day was on Facebook. I don't know. I didn't know anything about it. But he said they were saying, "Ain't no way Steve Saddle can do da 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 da." So Eric Palmer says, "I'll show you what it can do." And Eric rides a lot of mules, folks. I mean, he trains a lot of mules. He's a good hand. And you know what? Eric's mainly owns a trucking business. He does the mules because he enjoys it. But anyway, shows a picture of him throwing a saddle on, cinches hanging down, breeching over there, him getting a hold of the mane and getting a hold of the horn, climbing right in, and the saddle never moved.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, we've got a few more folks watching. We've got Scott from Florida. We've got Karen saying, love all my tack from Steve. Karen, we like to hear that. Thank you for those kind words. We've got Ashley Overgard says, your niece in Colorado.
Oh, my Ashley, she is a chef, and her grandfather is a chef. And I tell you what, when they go to cooking, be prepared to put on the pounds, because you can't just stop. I mean, even though you're a Thanksgiving dinner, oh my goodness. Hi, Ashley, love you.
How cool. Diane chimed back in talking about those fenders, the fender length. She says, my husband is 6'5", talking about the fenders.
Yeah, okay, good. And then an inseam size. I need the inseam size.
Let's get the inseam from you, Diane. That'd be good.
You
Let's
bet.
see here. Carrying on down. Want to make sure we get to everything that's come in. Linda appreciates you answering the treat question. Let's see. I did see another question come in. Mark Williams says, hey, just wanted you to know that Mark Miller came over and we took the Longhorns up the mountain. How fun. That's great.
Good deal. Yeah. That Mark Miller, he's a good guy. I'm going to go ride with him one of these days.
That'll be cool. We'll get pictures. Meredith Andrews says, you said on one of your previous broadcasts that mules will have contracted heels if not shod. Can you elaborate on that? I am an apprentice farrier, and I would like to know why you feel that way.
Okay. The heels are supposed to look like this. This is the back part of the hoof. Here's the front part. And what happens is, you look on these mules, if you see the heel, let's just say this is the frog right here. If you see the heel coming in like this, that's contracted. That's what's called contracted. And when those heels start coming in, it starts making the frog smaller, and pretty soon you don't have a hoof. Look, folks, the donkey hoof on that mule really makes for a sorry foot. But just look at those. If you're an apprentice farrier, one of the first things I want you to look at is how straight the animal is not. Is not. And that is because we didn't properly balance, and you understand that word balance if you're a farrier, balance the foot throughout this colt's life. So look at the heels, and you'll see the contracted. If the folks that have the most problem with contracted heels are the ones that are not shoeing the animals. You know, they've got to be shod. And then you can use, if you're a farrier, you're getting ready to learn this, you use the shoe to correct the heel to get the heel to come out. So what you do is, here's the branch of the foot, the branch of the shoe right here. You take this, which is normally flat, and you tilt it like this. I'm overemphasizing it, but I'm tilting it. So what happens as the foot comes down on a regular balanced foot, it comes down like that. So up and down. But now with the heel, the branch of the shoe being tipped, as the foot comes down, it comes down this way and it spreads the heels so that they are not contracted. Now, I'll tell you where I've seen the worst of this is on wild horses. Oh, my goodness. Horrible feet on them poor horses.
So I'm going through the comments section here, making sure we get to everything. And Yolanda says, Steve, what if your mule has no manes when you try to get in the saddle? So she was asking, and then she says, my mule is not custom in manes, and she ain't going to get them. She is Spanish, ole. She's Spanish, ole. So there you go. That's funny. Yeah. And then I saw this one. Nicole says, hey, Dave, you pronounced Lokahi wrong. So I get Lokahi. I don't know how I said it, but Nicole says it's pronounced Lokahi. It's Hawaiian. It means peace and unity. And that was the name of one of the mules in one of the questions earlier on. So so that's fun. Little education there. I got a question here. This one's from Glenn. So Glenn, glad to have you. Glad that you took the time to ask a question. Oh, and Carol is watching from France. So international again.
Carol,
Glenn's
hey, welcome.
question. Welcome, Carol. Carol's question is, what's your thoughts on Carol's question, Glenn's question. What is your thought on breeding out of thoroughbred mares?
Well, I've rode a lot of good thoroughbred mules. They've done good. Some just like any other breeds, some names can be a little bit tougher than others. But you got to remember your thoroughbred's going to have a lot of long leg on them. It was one of the several years ago. It was one of the favorite mules to breed with because of the long legs for rangers back in the back country and this sort of thing. But if that breed suits you and you like the high head and the long step, there you go, perfect.
Very good. We've got Leslie Jones chiming in over on YouTube. Hi, Leslie. Glad you're here watching with us. She's watching from North Carolina. The next question we got, this one, actually, Doug Reed, real quick. Doug Reed is watching from Vernal, Utah. So glad to have you here, Doug. The next question, this one comes from Memory. She says, if my mule is the dominant one over the mare horse who is her companion, is that why I have a difficult time maintaining the leadership position other than a mule who is more submissive?
No, not really. You just have to be more assertive. especially with the come-along hitch. It's rare that you'll have a mule be more dominant over top of the horse. Usually they're very subservient to the horse. But if you've got one that is dominant, that's rare. But going back to you, folks, look, you know, I don't know of any of you that can take a kick from a horse, okay? And when these mules get kicked, it looks like a fly just stepped on them. It's not a big deal for them, all right? So, you know, you've got to use enough force to get the job done. Ask, tell, demand. Comfortable, uncomfortable. So if this mule's not paying any attention to you, then by golly, get tougher on this mule. Get tougher.
Awesome. Let's see here. Next question we got. This one comes from Jason. Jason emailed in saying,
hold on a second. Let me mention this, okay? Look, folks, when I say get tougher, it's only going to be for a short time. You know, you don't have to stay hammering on them. Just get tough on them for a short time. They will see that when you ask, tell, demand, they will see that you're serious on that getting tough part, and they don't want to go there. They don't want to go there. They'd go ahead and be submissive and go with you. I needed to make that point there, Dave. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. That's great. I'm glad you did. This one was from Jason. Jason says, hey, Steve, I just want to say I really enjoy your videos about mules. We love hearing that. One question I have is, I've got a young Molly mule I've been riding in a snaffle bit. Do you need to transition to a leverage bit, or can you always use a snaffle bit? Thanks.
Yeah. A snaffle bit has two main purposes. One is to start the foundation training, because the snaffle bit, it comes from the corners of the mouth. The communication is crisper and cleaner, and it also communicates to the tongue. So the tongue and the corners of the mouth and the bars, those three right there are good, crisp communication. Now, this is really important, is that once a mule has a good foundation, which should be when you're 3 years old, rarely do you want to come back to a snaffle bit. What you don't want to do is get their mule's mouth sour and sore, and you will do that when you're using pressure on the tongue all the time. And that's the problem with the snaffle bit, is when it breaks in the middle like this, it goes down and pushes on the tongue. It does not go up on the roof, it pushes on the tongue, and that creates the problem. So the idea is to go lighter. This, you may call it leverage bit. Actually, get this, folks. Now get this. This bit is easier than a snaffle bit, but the communication can be more severe because of the shanks. So you're going to make sure that you do a good job with the snaffle bit. Quit the snaffle bit after. When do you quit a snaffle bit? This is when you can one-handed back up a couple steps, one-handed go to the left, one-handed go to the right, and one-handed stop. Then you're ready to start going over and transitioning to the correctional mouthpiece, to your finished bit. Otherwise, that snaffle bit is meant to be used two-handed with direct reining only, where the finished bit is mainly meant to be used one-handed.
All right, very good. Next question we've got here. Actually, it's a follow-up. So Scott had previously asked the question, or actually Glenn asked the questions about thoughts on thoroughbred mares. I think this is a follow-up to that. Scott says, "What about a quarter horse mule?" Would that be a follow-up to that question?
Well, I mean, if the breed is going to depend on what you want, all right? Now, if I'm going to be working cows, I want a cowy type mule, which is going to take a cowy type horse. Mm-hmm. So my Pepe San, my Tivio Chant, my cow bred type horses will breed a cow type thinking mule and go from there, okay? Your thoroughbred, remember, what's a thoroughbred for? Running. For running. And so if you want an animal that is really fast and this sort of thing, go your thoroughbred. But among everything else, what do you get? disposition. Among everything else, I don't care about the breed. I don't care about the color. I care about one thing only and one thing only, and that is disposition.
Very good. We've got Jeremy. He asked the question, what is the ideal height mule for Colorado mountains? I am 6'2" tall. I guess he's asking what's the ideal height for him. He's 6'2".
I'd put you on a 15'2" mule, and you could even ride a 16'2". But let me tell you something. My very best friend now, who's gone home and be with the Lord here about 4 months ago, Andy, he rode a 14'2" Pinto mule. We call him Beaner. Andy weighed 240 pounds at this time and was 6'3". He rode that mule over some of the nastiest country it can be. Now, guaranteed, he looked like Friar Tuck on a donkey because he was kind of, he's a big guy. But, folks, it's going to depend upon you. I'm going to tell you, I've ridden all sizes of mules from 17 hands down to 13 hands. And at the Bishop, I even rode some mini mules in with a pack string just because people would always say to me I was a midget packer. I was also a world champion, but that's another story, okay? So yeah, I've ridden them all, and part of it's going to depend upon you. But if I was going to tell you the average saddle mule that most folks seem to drift toward is around 15'2" hands.
All right, so I've got a few more questions. Are you okay if we go a few minutes over here, Steve?
You bet. Yeah, I've also got a Surcingle, which we can talk about another time too.
Okay, cool.
Questions.
We got questions. This one's from Constance. Constance emailed this one in. Says, my husband and I bought your trail saddles. They are great. Love hearing that. Rode 9 miles last Saturday. I'm looking for a training bit for a 4-year-old mule. He is little. He would be a pony size bit. What would you recommend?
Well, if you're going to be training, I always say go the Mule Riders Martingale. And folks, it really doesn't matter how far it is back here on the corners of the mouth. I like to see my fingers go on both sides of the cheek, the corners of the mouth, with my snaffle bit. It's all in a matter of your hands. Barely move your hands. Unfortunately, folks tend to overdo it. But if I was going to say the perfect riding bridle is going to be the Mule Riders Martingale. Now, here's the problem. we always seem to see the short side of it. In other words, boy, my mule is doing really good in this one. Why should I do this? No, the day's coming when you're going to pay the price for using that bit. Because here's what happens. You're using a smooth snaffle bit because you feel it's being easier on the animal. Folks, that is your brakes and your steering. And sooner or later, that smooth snaffle bit, that mule is going to go right through it. They'll stick their nose in the air, they'll throw their head in the air, and they got you. And that is a bad feeling, a really bad feeling. So, said all that to say this. That's why I designed the Mule Riders Martingale. This got a string on it. You're actually riding on a string, not off of your reins. Yes, the reins are connected to the string, but it's a beautiful tool that is very light on the animal as long as he's paying attention. But if he decides he doesn't want to pay attention, he decides he wants to have the horse side of him come out and take off running, well, then this Mule Riders Martingale can stop him. Again, folks, when you come to the Hoosier Expo, I'm going to be demonstrating that bridle.
Next question. This one comes from Dirk. Dirk emailed in. Says, I'm thinking about buying a mammoth mother and a 4-month-old Jack baby mother. The 4-month-old Jack baby mother has cracks in hooves and too long. Baby's getting too long also. Muddy close quarters with 8 of them. Hoping we can correct their hoof trouble. Here's the question. What chances of genetic abnormality versus the environment they're in regarding these hooves?
Well, there's always a possibility of genetic. But here's the thing. When you let these animals go too long, they'll grow crooked, they'll grow straight up, a variety of ways, okay? We can go to different parts of Arizona where donkeys are, and you see different genetics. You see some really good feet, and you see some really sorry feet. But here's the thing. When you have a lot of moisture, you're going to have expansion of the hoof. when it's dry, it's going to have contraction of it. So the sooner you get them out of that atmosphere, because here's the biggest thing, the bacteria that's in all that moisture, all that urine and manure and this sort of thing, sooner you can get them out, sooner you can get them trimmed and trimmed down, the better. Now, you may not be able to get them trimmed down all the way, because here's what happens. Your bloodline starts coming down. And when you're trimming them, you could hit some blood. And if you do, not a big deal. It's easy enough to put some iodine crystals in it and fix it. Not a problem. But it's imperative, folks, that you don't take care of the foot, you're not going to have a donkey at all.
Very good. Next question. This one comes from a Dave. I like that name. I'll get used to that, I think. It says, I've heard. What's that?
He was a king, that Dave.
He was. Good company. I've heard that mule hooves are generally harder and grow slower because of their donkey daddy. First of all, is that true? And then secondly, how often should mule hooves be trimmed?
No, it's not true. The donkey hoof is a horrible hoof. It is not hard. It can be extremely soft. It can crack easy. It can contract easy. It can do lots of things. It's a horrible hoof. Trim your mules up every 6 to 8 weeks. Trim them. Balance them. That's what's important. Anybody can trim, but trim so that they are balanced. Not like this, not like this, not like this. Balance. Trim for balance. You may not get them trimmed right off the bat. You may get them trimmed a little at a time and finally get it. But folks, it's imperative these babies are trimmed from when the time they're babies. No, they do not have a hard foot. I've seen horses have just a good a foot, not cracked and this sort of thing. So it has a lot to do with the way we maintain them.
Very good. All right, here's a question from Nicole. Nicole says, I have a John mule that is a year old, and I've had him since the day he was born. I'm breeding one more time because I fell in love with my John. My husband and I were planning on doing the Permanente RV thing, and I was wondering, have you heard of anyone else that's done this? We have a trailer and corral panels that we would take for a portable shelter and pen. Really wanting to figure this out because I want to travel and explore our country, but I really don't want to give up my mules. We'll be traveling through Arizona for our first trip this coming June, and I was keeping my eyes open for any equine-friendly RV or campgrounds. Please let me know if you have any ideas. So what do you have to say there? That's one we've never heard before.
Well, there's lots of folks that are doing that these days, especially us baby boomers. Mom gets the nice big fancy trailer and dad gets the new Dodge truck, and they slip their mules in there and they go from corral to corral. As you get out here to Arizona, there's a couple things you got to consider. 14% of it's privately owned. The rest of it is either state land or national forest or BLM. Now, all that being said, folks, when you come out here, you better have a permit hanging from your window, from your mirror. If you don't, you will get fined heavily, very heavily. Now, there are corrals all over here, all over, that we use for catching our cattle and keeping them in place until we ship or sort or whatever. Now, a lot of these ranchers are nice enough that if you ask, they'll be happy to let you use that corral for a day or two. But otherwise, here's the law. The law says you cannot camp within a quarter mile of a water hole. You cannot camp within a quarter mile of corrals and working corrals. So get your permits. As far as places to stay, there's Shelley Donnelly. The D Spur is probably about 25 miles from me. If you just go in the phone book, you'll be able to figure it out. And online.
Has a question. Natalie says, is it possible for a mule to have nerve damage in the mouth and affect the bit? My oldest mule was abused and has some problems with her lips and tongue. I'm wondering if that might be the cause of some of the problems I've had in the past.
Well, yeah, Natalie, it sure can be. I can't tell you how many people have brought me mules that's been trained by a horse trainer that used a smooth snaffle bit that they've overpulled. And yes, they've killed nerves and this sort of thing. Is there a way to really know? No, there's not really a way to really know. I use mechanical hackamores a lot and bozels a lot, but I would have to watch the animal and put the reins in my hand, or watch you, Nat, riding this sort of thing to see what's going on. I could see when you were riding in the one picture you sent me, your mom sent me, were you holding the phone in and watching us on this live feed as you're riding your mule. Your mule was balanced, framed up. You were framed. You were setting correctly into the saddle, and it could be some of the problems. But hey, when I come there this summer, we'll take a look at it, Nat.
So Judy just chimed in, says, I came in late. I'm listening to your program now. Have a great day. And Steve, sorry about your accident with the finger there, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So that's everything that I've got. If you've got a couple more minutes, Steve, I had a couple more questions about, it's going to wind up being about your tack, but I think folks would still find it interesting. Can we go ahead and just take those questions right here?
Yeah, you bet. And we was also talking about stirrups and taps and this sort of thing, which we can do another time. Here it is, 3:40. We can hit stirrups and this sort of thing another time. But what have you got? What's going on?
Okay, well, I just got a couple ones real quick here, and if one of the answers goes long, then we'll do the other ones another time. But right here, I just want to know the difference between the stirrup and the overshoe stirrup and the tapaderos, because I know a lot of folks will look at it and think a stirrup is a stirrup is a stirrup, but actually, just on your store alone, you've got 3 different options, and that's just your store. There's endless, retailers out there where you can buy stuff. So you sell a stirrup, an overshoe stirrup, and a tap. What's the difference?
All right, so this right here is the tap. I will not get on any saddle that does not have a tap. The tap helps my foot, protects it from the elements, but most of all, my foot is not going to go through and get hung up and I get dragged. An open stirrup, which I had, which I've done something with. Are my stirrups up there? Huh. I had the stirrups. Maybe I got them out in the Ranger.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, my wife's going to go look and see. But this is a tap. This right here, folks, you may think it's ugly, and it probably is. But when you're going through the brush like I do, and you ride some of the stuff I've ridden over the years, to not be dragged is worth it. This is the safest stirrup you can ride in. And you need to ride with a good spur heel as well,
I like the idea of your feet not getting exposed to the elements there. I like that quite a bit.
Well, that's right. You see it comes with a stirrup in it. It's got a 4-inch base on it, and it's 6 inches tall here. Here's the other ones right here. This right here is the same. This is the overshoe stirrup. You can see how wide it is, okay, compared to the average 2 inches compared to the wide one here. You can see the difference in the two here, how much wider it is. This is the average stirrup that a lot of people ride. Mostly ladies should be riding in a 2-inch base, and you can see it's 5 inches wide here. Most of my guys ride with a 4-inch base, and it's 6 inches wide. But again, these things can be different lengths in height here. If you notice, this my overshoe stirrup is a little bit longer. So that's why I was asking the lady who has a husband at 6'5", what stirrup that she's using, because you can have longer stirrups. But I use this overshoe stirrup in all my guys' boots or tapaderos, and I use the 2-inch base on all the gals' tapaderos. But that's basically what the stirrups are, and the stirrups are really important. Some folks like the stirrups that are designed that go off at an angle so that your foot sets at an angle. Myself, I ride on with my foot all the way in the stirrup, locked in the heel. So I ride. We should talk about boots sometime. I'll show you my different boots that I ride, and to have a underslung heel is really important. There's, Dave, there's a lot more to riding than just sitting. Like I was talking about the boot with an underslung heel. People go, what's an underslung heel? Well, I'll show you. I got a custom pair of boots that I can show you sometime, the underslung heel. and a spur heel on it. But we should talk about that one of these times.
So when you say overshoe, really it's just the size. That's what it means. Is it's a larger size.
It's a larger size because a lot of people are in country where there's a lot of mud, or your boots that you wear that are lace ups and this sort of thing. When you're back in the mountains hunting, it's going to be wider and bigger. So then that's why you would want to have the 4-inch base. Mm-hmm. That 4-inch base right there is really, really important. Mm-hmm. And you can put your foot in there and lock your heel. See, your underslung heel, your heel goes like this and locks in. This is your heel here, and it goes under here and locks and keeps your foot from going through, okay? But a lot of people ride with a real short heel. They ride with a walking heel. Well, that heel gets undone. They get their foot in there. They're hung up, and they're done. They're being dragged. That's why I wear the tapaderos.
Very good. So the next question that I have is, we were talking about the Surcingle, and wanted to kind of know a little bit more about how the Surcingle is meant to work. It's an interesting piece of equipment. Can you just explain? And it's got a lot of hooks on it. Can you just explain real quickly? I know there might be different situations, but how is that meant to work, and what is it meant to do?
Well, this is actually what I call my mule's first saddle. And there's you can see the rings that I have here on it. These rings are at key places. The breeching's going to hook in here, and your reins are going to go in here. This right here is your back strap for your breeching. This middle ring here is where I put my reins through to tie them off. And then you'll see there's 2 big D-rings on the bottom. You put your latigos on here, your nylon latigos, and then you put your cinch on your bottom, and you put this around your animal, and then you tighten up the cinch, and then you put your reins in here. I do that to tune my animals. On my 80-foot round pen, I'll put 6, 8, 10 mules in there at a time. I'll put the Surcingles on them. I'll put the reins on them, and then I let them walk around, do whatever they want to do. They learn how to halter brake themselves. They learn how to carry a bit correctly. But the Surcingle is a wonderful training device. They're only like $80, and that's a lot cheaper than your $1,000 saddle. Because if they're going to roll, mules love to roll. So if they roll on $80 rather than $1,800. But that's the Surcingle. It's a training device. You'll see it on my video, Mule Riders Martingale. It probably wouldn't hurt to do a little excerpt out of that and put it with the Surcingle, so folks can see it actually working, Dave. It just come to my mind, Whoop. No, I can't hear you.
There was some noise going on around here. I muted. So with the Surcingle, would it be normal to see somebody put the Surcingle on, strap it up the way you were talking, put on a breeching, and put on the Mule Riders Martingale so when that mule moves his head up, it responds to the Mule Riders Martingale. It keeps what do you say it? The nose on the vertical, the head down. Is that what you're looking to do with it?
Exactly, Dave. It's exactly correct. The thing about the Surcingle, it's you take your colts. It's the first saddle. It's the first time they get a cinch around their belly. That's usually why they buck, is they get scared. The halter do the same thing. You can put baling twine back to each one of the rings, and would set the mule's nose. The big thing what this does is it helps them to get introduced to their first cinches, their first saddles, their first bridles, and this sort of thing. It's a wonderful tool, and it's also a great tool for your older animals that need a tune-up. Again, this is part of it. That Mule Riders Martingale video does a good job of demonstrating this.
Very good. That's awesome. Since we're still hanging out a little bit here, we've got Glenn hopping in from Northeast Texas, waiting on more rain, I guess he says. So Glenn, glad you're here hanging out. Kevin Howman popped in, says, I'm 6'4", 265 pounds. I'd like some information on Jeremy's question too. And I think Jeremy's question, let me scroll back up here, make sure I got it. I wish Facebook gave us a better way of managing these questions. Says, ideal height for mule in the Colorado mountains. So Kevin doesn't have to go back. Can you just say again what an ideal height is for someone who's 6'4", 265? Just real quick answer, so he doesn't have to go back and find it.
Well, 15.2 is a pretty good average mule, and for a guy that size, I would get a Percheron mule, or I would get a Belgian mule, and I would get something in that 15.2 to 16 hands high. And partner, look, here's what folks got to realize. Industrial standards. If you go to the Grand Canyon, 200 pounds is it. And the reason that is, folks, it doesn't make any difference how big the mule is. It's their tendons that get blown out. And their tendons get blown out, they're done. Coming down off of a hill, if a guy's not setting that saddle just right, you're going to blow the tendons out. And look, when they sell mules at the Grand Canyon, they don't sell their best ones, folks. They sell their ones that are done, So, that's another story, but you're going to blow tendons out. So 200 pounds is your max. So if you're 260 pounds, you're already 60 pounds over, and it doesn't make any difference how big the mule is, you're still going to blow out tendons. And so therefore it's going to take this. It's going to take you being able to ride, you not putting 50 pounds of saddlebags on the back. That's really important, okay? And it's going to take you being able to spend some time learning how to set that mule to go down the trail. It's one thing going down the trail. It's another thing going across country riding that mule, where he's got to go across logs and deadfalls and tough places and get your body around there. It's really tough. So, it's not so much the size of the mule for the size of the person. It's a matter of the mule being exercised. We just did an article on this about getting the mule ready for this. Getting them exercised, feeding them up right, exercising them so that they got muscle tone, they have lung power, they got heart power. But even if you do get them in really good shape, and I've had some mules be in really good shape, but get out here and blow a tendon, it can happen,
So what I'm hearing you say is that, hey, the mule might be big, the mule might be small, but across the board, for all intents and purposes, those tendons are going to wind up being the same, and the pressure is the pressure is the pressure, regardless of the size.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Let's see here. Last question I got. Last question. What are hobbles, and why do you need them?
Oh my! I don't have a pair here.
I almost thought to text you, and I forgot. But you can go ahead and share with us anyway.
Well, basically hobbles. You hobble the two front legs together. That's to stand still and quiet. It is not for grazing. A lot of people put two hobbles in the front legs, turn them loose, and let them graze. Them mules can get back to the truck quicker than you can run back there, because once they get started, they're gone. When you're going to hobble one for grazing, you hobble a left front, a right rear, snug enough that they have to scoot to get their feed. The purpose of the hobbles is like at the Grand Canyon, there's no place to tie to. So if you got to get off and shift a load, you take and turn your mule sideways on the trail, you hobble him, you tie one rein up on the horn, the other rein hangs down on the ground, it's called ground tying, and then you go back and you fix your load. The idea is, and get this in your mind, folks, the state forest, if they catch you tied to a tree, unless it is an emergency, you could be fined and you could end up buying that tree. Because if that mule takes one bite out of it or takes one paw on it, you did a detriment to that tree.
There we go. And that is the reason for hobbles. Folks, that's everything that we've got. We went a little long this week, had a few questions that I wanted to get Steve to chime in on as we're going ahead and enhancing the Mule Ranch store, adding more descriptions, more videos, more photos. Y'all have been doing a fantastic job of sending in photos. It's just awesome, all the images that you guys have sent in, and we love getting those photos and putting them on the website. Steve, let's see, Richard Matthews, Morden Chaplain, Steve.
Hi, Captain. That's the captain of the fire department there,
There we go.
Yeah.
He's a regular here, and we're glad to have you, Richard. We're glad to have you, Captain.
Yeah. Hey, I might also mention that on those hobbles, we got that video called Wait Here. That might be a good idea because you can learn about hobbles and this sort of thing, and get that fixed up. And hey, Captain Matthews, I see you just went on a call to help a lady with some type of stomach issues and this sort of thing. So get a chance, I'll call you and visit with you and see what kind of EMT work you were doing with her.
So something that's funny, you know Michael Decker. He was in town for Easter, and I was showing him some of the stuff that we've been doing. I was like, hey, we're doing this for Steve, we're doing that for Steve. It's just been a lot of fun, all these videos and whatnot. And when I brought up the YouTube channel to show him all the YouTube videos you and I had been doing, he saw you on the first video of 2019, the first one we did of this season. And you started out in your firefighter's outfit, your firefighter's uniform. And he goes, is that Steve? And I said, yeah. He goes, is he wearing a firefighter's outfit? I said, yeah, he's a volunteer firefighter now for Queen Valley. He goes, well, how about that?
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying it, too. There's a good bunch of guys. Irene Blackstone was over last night, and we were learning about pediatric, small kids and babies and this sort of thing. And for doing EMT work and EMS work. Anyway, she said about us there at the fire department. Now we're all volunteers. We have 3 full-time staff that's paid, 2 firefighters and a battalion commander. The rest of us are all volunteers. She said she loves coming out to Queen Valley because all of us guys want to help people. We're not paid the big bucks like a lot of firefighters are, and they're professionals, and God bless them. I cannot tell you how much I hold them in high esteem. I do, okay? But she says she loves coming out with us, and because we're eager, we want to learn. We didn't go to firefighter school. So all this stuff, we run into this stuff. I mean, next week, we're going to be around a helicopter. Working around a helicopter. I can't tell you how many firefighters I've talked to that says, you guys been working with helicopters? I said, yeah, that's kind of what we've done. I mean, I've been all kinds of calls, Dave. It amazes me what we do. And we're out here in the middle of nowhere, folks, So, yeah, I'm out here to help. God gave me a vision a long time ago to be a teacher and a helper. I want to be a servant, And yes, I'm a sanguine leader type person. Okay, I understand that, but I want to be a servant. So, folks, that's why I'm out there to help you all with your mules and donkeys. I'm helping other people with this firefighter stuff, and but I'm enjoying the health that God gave me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Steve, Yolanda says, have a good week and stay in the love of Jesus Christ. I think that's a great way to end this broadcast.
Yes, wow.
Awesome
Thanks,
broadcast. Yolanda. If anybody has any questions, Steve talked a little bit here just at the end here of just hearing from God and wanting to be a servant. If you ever have any questions about that, we are always willing to talk and share what it is. What do you got there?
Oh, man, I got something here, folks. This is Horsehair. Horsehair, and it is a hat band. All right? Now, these are handmade. Handmade. All the knots and everything are all handmade.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all horsehair made by prisoners up in Montana.
Hey.
And I mean, it's awesome stuff. This is artwork, stuff that you would normally not see. You can see some of the artwork here. This is all hand braided. Every bit of it, horsehair, all hand braided. I was looking through some stuff that I had, and I wanted to kind of support these guys, so I bought everything that they had. And it's high dollar stuff, folks. So don't call them thinking you're going to get this for $25. Handmade. This is artwork. And if you got a couple $100 extra and you want a hat band that is unique, I have hat bands that are handmade that are awesome. I got 4 of them. And if somebody really wants to have some artwork on their hats, I mean, just look at that. That's all handmade.
Eileen just made a great joke. She goes, would those hat bands fit on the original ATV hats?
Eileen, you rascal. Yeah.
That's
But if
funny.
you want them to, they'll fit because they are adjustable.
Oh, hey, how about that?
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that's one of those unique, one-of-a-kind, can't get another one just like it because they're handmade. They're not going to have two of them. So if somebody's looking for something that's a real looker and gives them just that extra bit of flair, no one else is going to have anything like it. Yeah, give Steve a call, 602-999-6853. I can tell you what, those aren't on the Queen Valley Mule Ranch store. That is a special order only.
Yes.
Awesome. That's it for this week. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you coming, hanging out, spending some time.
We did an hour and a half. Hey, Dave, you don't
know.
suppose I can take this camera stuff to the Hoosier Expo and maybe just do a little flash run or something like that?
We can do you one better. What we could do is we can just hook it up straight with your phone, and you can do it just straight with your phone.
Ooh, wouldn't that be something?
That'd be cool. We'll talk through that.
All right, we'll see how that works.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Gary Green, glad to hear that you were here. Gary chimed in just at the last second. Y'all have a great day. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Bye-bye.